This semester, we've been talking about adverse childhood experiences, abuse, neglect, in prison, divorce, um, mental illness, substance abuse in a parent. Um, and those are important to recognize. But if we're working with kids, we also need to recognize protective and compensatory experiences. So, what we're going to call PACEs. Winnicott Winnicott is a psychoanalytic theorist. He says there's no such thing as a baby. If you set out to describe a baby, you will find you're describing a baby and someone. And it's that and someone that we need to be thinking about. We want to be taking a broader perspective rather than only just the child. Um, we need to understand what their context is. We have talked about a number of different kinds, and we will talk about a number of different kinds of research this semester, particularly in this section by Jennifer Hayes Grudo. And she was asked, is there anything realistically that we can do differently? She said, provide home visiting or other support for parents of every child born in America. It's the hardest job, parenting is the hardest job we do, and no one knows how to do it unless they were well parented themselves. Many of the people watching this video will not have had that experience. So we've talked about ACEs, and how those can lead to early death and disease. That adverse childhood experiences disrupt neural development, which then impairs social, emotional, and cognitive development. People engage in health risky behaviors. They experience disease, disability, and other social problems and die early. What Morris, Hayes Grudo, and others are saying is, yes, those make sense. Those are things we need to pay attention to. And we also need to be paying attention to the relationships that people have and the resources that they develop. And that those relationships and resources lead to optimal neurodevelopment, positive social, emotional, cognitive functioning, healthy behaviors, help people achieve their developmental milestones and experience health and longevity. Amanda Morris said, when asked a very similar kind of question to that of Hayes Grudo, said, if she could do one thing, it would be every child in the world would have access to free, quality, early childhood education and care starting at birth. This is where we need to focus. So this semester, we've been talking about some of the things that put us at risk. In this video, ask people to consider those things: neglect, parents divorcing, history of abuse, substance abuse, etc. But then it also asks people to consider the things that protect them. So having a best friend, having someone, having a parent who believes in them. So I encourage you to watch the video and notice how it feels as you answer those questions for yourself, particularly if you've been feeling discouraged so far this semester, thinking about some of the ways that you weren't parented in the ways that you wish you were. Um, Felitti, we've talked about Felitti's research throughout the semester. He said the impact of a successful approach to ACEs, such as PACEs, might be as great as a major vaccine, in which case we should be investing in this direction. So what makes a difference? We said relationships and we said resources. In terms of relationships, having someone who loves you unconditionally, having at least one best friend, doing anything regularly to help others, volunteering in the community in some way. Having an adult other than a parent, so a teacher, a scout leader, a minister, who you can trust and count on when you need help or advice. Maybe, maybe your aunt or your Amelia, abuela. Being an active member of at least one civic group or non-sport social group. Resources also make a difference. Having an engaging hobby, something that you enjoy and that you feel good about. Being involved in organized sports or other kinds of physical activity, whether it be playing football or doing yoga. Living in a home that's typically clean, safe, with enough food to eat. Having a school that provides resources and experiences needed for learning. And having a home with clear established rules that are fairly administered and consistently administered. So let's look at a child and think about how some of these risks and strengths, things that we've talked about through the semester, may play out. So at a child level, he has, Joseph has some serious risks. He saw domestic violence in his home. He saw his mother being murdered. He's experiencing post-traumatic stress disorder and withdrawing socially from others. On the other hand, he's bright. He's on the honor roll at school, and he has agency and courage. That is, he called 911 when he saw his father attacking his mother. From a family level, his father was abusive of his mother and abused alcohol. He killed his mother. His father killed his mother. His father was arrested. He experienced considerable crowding in the home. And his maternal grandmother also had a history of domestic violence. But he experienced a very positive relationship with his mom, with his maternal grandmother, and with his aunts. His mom went to college. He loves his baby sister. He experiences good support from his maternal relatives, and each of these will be a strength for him. In terms of the community, some of the risk factors include that the community is poor, the school is underfunded, he's experienced some bullying at school, there's poor communication between the school and social services, but one of his neighbors is very helpful. And there's a strong children's advocacy center, a supportive church, and he has access to therapy and other services. In the society, his school isn't trauma informed, and he experiences a fair amount of racism and discrimination, and there was really poor response to the domestic violence that his family experienced. But he also experiences a society that is protective of their children. There are emergency services and some systemic understanding of trauma. So as you're thinking about children and how to intervene, be aware of both the risks, those ACEs, and also the strengths, PACEs and other things, and how those may play out and protect a child, such as Joseph. With that, I'm going to say goodbye and have a good day. Take care.